I bet it's that Viper, more Grimes, that's put the kibosh on this.
Save your breath, Brad.
Well...
And Michael, you better get your skates on, because the person you're after's visiting the Platts over at number 8.
Oh, Sally, thank you very much. I'll see you later.
Hey,
so it's not Fred Elliott, but the name on the book is another stalwart of Weatherfield's business community. He first appeared here 36 years ago as a humble postal worker, and then he became the big cheese at the corner shop. Sold a lot of soap. He's just returned to the series after a real-life health scare. Now he's here, number 8, recording a scene with his on-screen family. So once again, I'm living dangerously, interrupting an actor in full flow.
Speaking of which, where's the young man of the house tonight?
Pictures with his mates.
So he says. I reckon he's out with Leanne.
You don't know that.
Oh, he's besotted with her.
Well, you can't blame her for that. She's a little cracker.
She's a little tart.
Ah, well, a little tart has a lot of appeal for a man starting out on life.
How do you know?
I've had me moments.
Oh, take no notice of him, girl. He wouldn't know a tart from a turnip.
Oh, I don't know about that.
There's something else you didn't know about either, and that is that I've just popped up to join the group and say, tonight, Alf Roberts, alias Bryan Mosley, this is your life.
Let's do it.
Very good. Thank you, folks. That's a final wrap on the scene that you've just done for us. Thank you very much. And we've got a studio full of very good friends of yours waiting to say nice things.
Well, I can't believe it.
Yeah.
Long overdue, I may say.
Yes, it is.
And so say all of us, but tonight's the night.
Oh, great. Oh,
Bryan, I have to say, you haven't been back at work long. You're still on the mend, so no need to leap about if you don't feel like it. We'll bring the show to you, all right?
Great.
Now, Bryan, you've been acting since you were a schoolboy, and for all that time, there's only been one leading lady in your life, the girl you met on the steps of the Methodist Church at Hyde Park, Leeds, when you were 12 and she was 11. You've been married for 41 years, and of course she's here, your wife, Norma. It's been a testing year for you, Norma, but it must be wonderful to have Bryan fit and working again.
Yes, after his heart attack, it's wonderful to have him back again. And that's the thing that's kept him going for 10 months, this determination to be back at work. Yes.
Keep going, you fool.
Well, Bryan, it was in 1961 that you made your first appearance in Coronation Street. In your pork pie hat and mayoral chain, you've become a symbol of respectability. But it wasn't always like that.
Hey, Ernie, lad. You've cracked it, mate.
She fancies me. She fancies me.
Aye, for breakfast.
What a way to go.
Well, in that case, I could say we definitely got no to worry about.
I think that.
Well, I'll put it another way. If you do take the job, you look after the hostessing, I'll look after the opinions. I'm not supposed to be sick, I am sick.
Of course you are, mate. That's what I'll tell them back at the office. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink.
Look, you can tell them what you like for me, because you've no room to talk. You're the biggest scour in the building. You haven't done an honest day's work in your life. So don't come here making snide remarks about me, because I can do without it. Have you got that? Reedy! Go! Reedy!
You've ruined my wife's day, did you know that?
Me?
Yeah, and if you think you're getting money for this trip, you can whistle for it.
Well, I'll whistle solo then, because I'm going home on my own.
That's right, you, hey, hey. Hey, where are you going? Excuse me, may I take a photo, please?
And here are some neighbours from Britain's most famous manor, the cast of the world's longest-running television serial.
Johnny Pine. All right. Thank you. Hello. Hiya. Hiya. Right. Bryan. Got one, kid. Hello, love. Yeah, we're just back there. Hello, love. Hiya. Thank you. Hello, you're looking for those, aren't you? Hello. Hello, she's back there. Hello. Oh, hello, love. I know. Yeah. Hello, mother. That's a shot. Thank you.
Now, Sue Nichols, as Audrey, Alf's missus, over the years, you've worked your fingers to the bone, frittering away his hard-earned cash.
Big Daddy, which is my secret name for him. Not quite so big, because he slimmed down, but Big Daddy. It is a joy to have you as my partner on screen. I love you sincerely. I am very fond of you. I think you're a terrific actor. You have had a horrid time lately, and you and Norma have really struggled, but you've come out of it. You've crossed a lot of hurdles. We love you to pieces, and we thank you for getting better, and we thank you for wanting to come back and join us, because there was a huge gap. We love you very much.
And Helen Worth, Bryan plays granddad to your street family, doesn't he?
And he's a lovely granddad to my lot, but I've always said anyway that I think he's every child's perfect granddad, because he's warm and he's cuddly and most of all he's fun. And so I hope you enjoy tonight, Bryan, surrounded by your own family, who I know mean so much to you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you both very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Although Alf Roberts has been married 3 times, he has no children of his own. But in real life, you've got a large family, 3 boys and 3 girls. Well, joining you tonight are Jacqueline, Simon, Helen, Jonathan and Bernard.
Good Lord.
Jackie, I must ask, at home, does your dad have anything at all in common with Alf?
He has a slight tendency to be a bit of a problem solver and certainly lays down the law a bit, but he's made Alf into a very lovable and human character, and certainly we've always known that he's always had our best interests at heart and loves us very much, and we love him very much. It's mutual.
I know you do, yeah.
Well, let's start talking shop. Bryan Mosley, this is your life. You were born in Leeds on August the 25th, 1931. Your dad, Jimmy, was a dyer's labourer, and your mum, Agnes, a print worker. Your first home, 49 Rosebank View, with not a rose in sight, was a dead ringer for Coronation Street. The family shared an outside lavatory with the neighbours, the Longbottoms. And when your dad came home from the dye works, the choice was the public wash house or a tin bath in front of the fire. But it was a happy childhood, wasn't it?
Very, very. My grandparents lived close by, so that was a help too, you know.
Your first school is Burley Road Juniors. There's the young schoolboy with his mum. Most family holidays were spent in Scarborough, where you stayed with your Uncle Bob's family. One of your companions on the beach was cousin Anne Popplewell, who is here tonight. At the age of 11, you move up to Kirkstall Road Seniors, and you and your pals pick up a new skill on the pavements of Leeds.
Yes, Bryan. You were the Errol Flynn of Rosebank View.
A friend from school days who was later to be your best man, David Poole.
Good Lord.
So, David, he was a bit of a swashbuckler, was he?
Yes, he was. There was an old sailor on the road he lived on who was an expert with the cutlass, and he taught local boys the 5 basic movements, and he became a very good swordsman.
Well, yeah.
And he persuaded me to buy an épée, so at the youth club we could practice together, but I could never beat him. He was very good.
David, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, at 13, you win a place at Leeds College of Art, but John Wood, Brian's parents, took a bit of persuading before they let him go.
Yes, they were. They were very apprehensive. And as I'd been at college for a year then, Bryan asked me to say a few comforting words. I'm sorry, Bryan, but my lurid description of artistic life didn't help your mum and dad very much. But I'm sure that even at 13, they looked at you and they saw your commitment and dedication. Mm. And to their great credit, from that moment on, along with your lovely grandma and granddad, they did everything they could to help you and encourage you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you. You're also, Bryan, an enthusiastic member of the Bellevue Youth Club drama group, where the leading lights were Alice and Eddie Reynolds, who encouraged your acting dreams. What was your first role?
Oh, the front end of a cow, not the back end, the front end of a cow, Genevieve, yeah.
You started at the top.
Oh.
Well, on December the 15th, 1949, you're invited to wear a nice blue costume. You're called up for your national service in the RAF. You trained to become an air traffic controller. And one of your postings happened to be just outside Newcastle, where Norma was training as a teacher.
That's right.
And then you're posted to Scotland. And when you're not on duty at the control tower, you're on stage at the Bryan Theatre in St Andrews.
Yeah.
And you were really surprised when we actually paid you money to act.
They ran the Bryan Theatre, Raymond and Jane Linden.
Oh. Hello, my dear. Oh, lovely. Lovely to see you. Hello. God bless you. Lovely to see you.
So you paid leading aircraftsman Mosley his first wages, did you, as an actor?
He'd have been glad to act for nothing if called upon to do so. However little we paid him, he earned every penny. I remember one time when he was cast as the butler in The Importance of Being Earnest. He had to mime laying a table in time with the music played off stage on a piano, which was really a tape recorder. He was a knockout. He really was good. He gave the impression that he'd been a butler all his life. Yeah.
Thank you.
And Jane Bryan also did a nice number as a babysitter.
Oh, yes, he did. When we first knew Bryan, our daughter Magdalene was just a tiny baby. And Bryan absolutely adored her, and he used to offer to babysit, didn't you, Bryan? It was lovely to think that eventually Bryan would become a father himself, because I felt sure that he would make a very good father. Oh, and of course we were delighted when you went on to have 6 children of your own.
Thank you both very much.
God bless you, thank you.
Armed with a letter of introduction from Raymond, you enroll at the academy where he'd studied, the Northern Theatre School in Bradford, run by Esme Church. From there, you go off on tour with a company called the New Pilgrim Players, putting on productions in churches, pubs and prisons. And then in 1956, Norma finally accepted the latest of your many proposals of marriage. Norma, what was so different this time?
Well, he caught me on the hop because it was in the middle of a film, and I sort of said, yes, and then later realised that I hadn't said the usual no. But having said yes, I thought, well, yes, it's the right decision. So we made the best of it, didn't we?
Tried to, yeah.
Oh, right. But David Poole hitchhiked up from London to be your best man when you were married at St Augustine's Church in Leeds on July the 20th, 1956. A year later, when you're struggling to establish yourself in the theatre, your first child, Jacqueline, is born. 5 more children were to arrive at regular intervals. In fact, Bryan, relatives have said that you only ever looked really comfortable when you had a baby in your arms. You find work in repertory theatres in York, Derby, Harrogate and Perth. But the family is short of money, and between jobs you sell encyclopedias door to door. Now, Joanne Longley, you're Bryan's cousin, and you used to tag along with him, didn't you?
I did, yes. I'd stand at the gate while Bryan went up and tried to sell his encyclopedias. I didn't realise at the time how important it was that he actually did sell them. And he used to take me all over, the cinema, the theatre, pantomimes. In fact, he's the big brother that I never had, right. And I love you.
Well, Joanne's mum, Mary, was like a second mother to you. She's a little frail now, but she wanted to send you this message from her nursing home in Leeds. Your mother's sister, Auntie Mary.
Hello, Brian. Hope you have a lovely night. See you soon.
Well, back to the grease paint. In 1959, you performed a summer season of plays at Butlins, Clacton. The schedule was gruelling. You had to perform 6 new plays every 2 weeks, with up to 3 performances a day.
And when we appeared on stage, the feathers flew.
You first met in that summer season 38 years ago, your old friend Derek Ware.
Good Lord.
Derek, you planning to stay a while, are you?
These featured in our big fight scene together. Every night, Bryan would defend himself with this, as I flew at him with this.
Terrifying.
The trouble was, after every scene, the stage was covered in feathers. So at the end of the performance, he had to get down on his hands and knees, gather up all the feathers, stuff them back in, and sew it together again in time for the next show.
Now, you had a flat in Soho in the 60s, and Bryan used to stay with you.
Indeed he did.
Oh, yeah.
Bryan would hitchhike all the way from Leeds to London on the off chance of an audition or a small part. One time he told me he had to leave his cufflinks in a pawnbroker's on the outskirts of London to raise the tube fare to come into town.
That's right. I got dropped off at Harrow on the Hill, and he gave me £0.50 for them, so that was it. I never saw him again.
Derek, thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Derek.
Now, during your hitchhiking days around Britain looking for acting work, the children had a foolproof way of knowing that Dad had arrived home, didn't you, Helen?
Yes, we'd look up under the pillow and see if there were presents there. And if there were, we'd know that you were back, and we'd run in and see if you were awake. And then we'd all clamber in, and you'd ask us what we'd done, and we'd have chin pies. You can remember those. And we used to sing, which we still sing now, actually, a song together, which goes...
Here we are again, happiest company, all good pals and jolly good company.
Hey, yeah, lovely. Your first family transport was an overloaded Austin A40. You managed to cram in all the kids, plus mother and father-in-law as ballast. But Simon, you've got fond memories of the times that Dad used to drive the family around in another vehicle.
That's right. We used to, as the family grew, we had a minibus, and we always used to pile into the minibus and have days out in the Dales. But Dad hated traffic queues and traffic jams. So he used to say, come on, we'll take this shortcut. We used to go winding up all the little side streets and everything. And invariably took 3 times longer than it should have done. And if we got caught on a little tricky bit of road, he'd say, right, I'll do a 16 or more point turn. And he used to manage to persuade us that the more manoeuvres he made, the better a driver he was.
Well, many a journey later, you made your first appearance in Coronation Street. It was February the 16th, 1961. It was the 18th episode, and you were a post office official who was a friend of Ken Barlow's dad, Frank. Yeah. This is how you stamped your mark.
What's up with you today?
What do you mean, what's up with me?
Oh, I've had half a dozen words out of you all morning.
You, what's that?
Chichester. And don't change the subject.
I wouldn't have asked if I'd have known, would I?
Well, you could read that as well as I could. Come on, we haven't been pals all this time for nothing. What's up?
Over the years, Coronation Street has been a training ground for actors who've gone on to find further fame. One nervous newcomer got his chance in a scene with you. From the stage of the London Palladium, where he's playing the Beadle in Oliver, Paul Shane.
Oh, hello, Bryan, mate. Hey, it's a bit of a shock, innit? How's your lovely Norma? All right, but you know what I've always told you, Bryan? If you can't get a laugh, wear a funny frock. But you know, I'll never forget, Bryan. The last time I did Coronation Street, I was in your shop with dear Pat Phoenix and yourself. And I had 1,000,000 lines, if you remember, about 10 in all. And I got to about 7.5 lines and blew it totally. And who was there to help me? Your good self. I'll never forget what you said. Don't worry, lad. I'm sure they'll do it again. And they did, and it was a success. And Jimmy Perry, one of the writers of Heidi Eye, was watching that scene, Brian. And that's probably why I'm sat on this stage today. Thanks to you and your kindness for helping me. Me and my wife send all our love to you and Norma, who we think are two of the nicest people that God put breath into. Give my love to all the gang on the street, and I'll see you when I see you. Please come down, I'll pay for the tickets. Say good night, Velda.
Ta-ra, Brian.
See you, mate. Full of bruise.
At first, your appearances on Coronation Street are few and far between, but your skill with the sword and your burly physique bring you bookings as a stuntman in dozens of films and TV shows. In an action-packed career, you've taken part in every type of fight sequence, from Shakespearean rumbles in Romeo and Juliet to dust-ups in Doctor Who. You've crossed swords with some fine actors in some elegant surroundings.
Yeah, we had a bit of a dust-up in the foyer of the ABC Cinema in Carlisle, didn't we, Brian?
A friend from your days in Rep, the star of Harry's Game, Ray Lonnan.
Oh, good. Hello, old mate.
So, Ray, he was Errol and you were Basil Rathbone, right?
Something like that, yes. We always had a passion for the cinema, Brian especially, the Errol Flynn type picture. And this particular afternoon we had time off to go to the cinema, and we sat through the picture, and afterwards the audience filed out into the lobby in a very orderly fashion, except for Brian and me, who came out something like this. Which is a bit alarming, you know, for the assembled company. But I'd just like to say thank you for 37 years of wonderful friendship, and you too, Norma. And here's to the next 37.
Great.
God bless you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, it's been a varied career, all right. You've appeared in Z-Cars, The Avengers, No Hiding Place and The Saint, even Crossroads.
Yeah.
In 1964, you also featured as a patient in Emergency Ward 10.
It was a big mistake asking you to act while lying in a hospital bed.
He played one of the doctors in that series, Tom Adams.
Good Lord. Hello, Tom. Nice to see you. Good lad. Thanks for coming.
Tom, what part was Bryan playing?
He was playing, if you believe it, a very, very nervous patient who was waiting for an operation. Now, in those days, Emergency Ward 10 was live, so I'm doing the scene. So I rush across the studio, I'm by the door, and the floor manager's there, he's as nervous as I am. So I go into this door, it's live television, 10 million people, and I've come in to calm down and reassure this very, very nervous patient. And there is Bryan Mosley, in bed, fast asleep. How can I ever thank you?
Thank you, Tom. About the 70s, you'd become a regular on the street. After William Roach and Eileen Derbyshire, you're the longest-serving member of the cast. Now, everybody knows what Alf Roberts is like, but Bill Roach, over the years, you've got to know Bryan better than most.
Yes. He's a very dangerous man, actually, Bryan. He's a serious threat to my career because he knows I'm a giggler. And Bryan's a very funny man. But Bryan, you know, Alf Roberts is a lovely character. And there's a lot of all of us in the characters we play. He's so likeable and lovable because it's you. And we, as members of the cast, love you, like you, enjoy being with you, and we're so glad that you're back.
Thank you, Bill. That's lovely.
Thank you.
Well, away from the street, your family has had to cope with its own life and death dramas. Some years ago, Norma had to battle against cancer, and your own health problems have kept you off work for 10 months. That was in 1991, and again this year. Now, while you were convalescing this summer, you went to the shrine at Lourdes. Yeah. How did that affect you?
Well, I was very, very ill all the way there and all the way back. A dear friend was driving us there and back, Peter. And we didn't think I'd make it, really. But I got back and suddenly I was better. So if that tells you anything about Lourdes, it's a wonderful place, and wonderful things happen there. You know.
And Norma Bryan, as we know, was seriously ill then, but he still had his sense of humour.
Oh, yes, yes, because when people go to Lourdes, they always come back with religious relics, and we brought a very religious relic back, because it rained all the way there, and all the time we were there, and all the way back, it never stopped raining. So we brought back a duck that sings Singing in the Rain.
Now, your family has always been at the centre of your life, but the circle wouldn't be complete without your grandchildren. Here to say hello to the granddad they call Papoose are Charlotte, Rosanna, Tom and Lauren. Charlotte, every Christmas you have a special present for your granddad, don't you?
Yeah, every Christmas me and Rosanna give a little play, and we always lock everyone out of the playroom and won't let anyone in.
And Bruce used to get really annoyed when we didn't let him in because he always wanted to know what the big secret were about.
But after all the guests had gone, we came out all dressed up and did a little play for him, and he always used to seem very pleased with it all.
Wonderful, thank you. Thank you all.
Many of the friends you've made on the set of Coronation Street went on to find fame elsewhere, one of them in a pair of extremely wrinkled stockings.
You'll always get a right good welcome on my steps.
And she doesn't say that to many. It's Nora Batty, alias Kathy Stark. Now, you knew Bryan long before your elastic went, didn't you?
Yes, I did. I've taken 10 different parts in Coronation Street over the years, so I got to know Bryan quite well. And then a few years ago, we went to Madeira on a family holiday, and the next morning, my daughter Susan, she said, "Doesn't that look like Bryan Mosley, only younger?" I said, "It is, Bryan." And unbeknownst to us, of course, Norma and Bryan had booked in the same holiday, so we had a lovely week. And as you can see, he does look younger. His hair's much nicer.
Oh, keep
and
talking.
of course, his clothes fit him. But I would like to say, as a fellow Christian, how lovely it is to work with somebody who's so committed to their faith as Bryan. He's such a lovely, honest, genuine man. And to work with him is a pure joy.
Thank you. Bryan Mosley, this is your life.
Thank you. Thank you.